it's no big deal, guys just get horny a lot, and of course you spend some time on the CornHub. Of course you gotta choke the chicken every once in a while. It's totally normal, right? Every guy does it, it's not a big deal. That is what I used to think. This is the most common story that I used to hear about using porn. Like many people, I discovered porn at a young age, and for a long time I was using it a lot. I was using it daily, and I didn't think that it was a problem. I always try to make sure that I'm not coming across as preachy. I am not here to tell you this is bad and you shouldn't do this and you should feel bad about doing it or anything like that, because I know that that's not actually going to help anyone anyway. And really, I'm a big believer in, it's your life. You get to do whatever you want. The reason I talk about porn addiction and how to overcome it is because I realized how much suffering it causes. I realized how much of a problem it can become. And if you notice the same, if you notice the suffering that it's causing in your life and you want to get out, I simply want to offer some tools to help. In my case, I actually started noticing that something isn't quite right about this story I'd been telling myself about my porn use when I started getting into self-development. So because I was, basically a broke loser and wasn't happy with my life, I started getting interested in self-development in general. I started reading lots of books and doing lots of experiments. I started experimenting with my life and lifestyle and started trying to find out, how can I be more productive? How can I improve my health and fitness? How can I improve my mindset? All this kind of stuff. As a result of that, I also started paying more attention to, how am I actually doing? How am I feeling? What's my mindset, my focus, my discipline like on a day-to-day basis? And this is where I started to notice something peculiar. It became very clear to me that generally, the better my well-being, the healthier and happier and more focused and more in the zone I felt, the stronger my sex drive, the stronger my sexual desires would become. Actually, it's the opposite of this that's really noticeable for me. I've struggled with depressive periods in my life, and I can tell you that when I'm depressed, I do not have a libido. I'm not interested in sex at all. So generally, a low sex drive is a sign that something isn't going well in my life. However, if you look at my porn use, it's the exact opposite. As a general rule, the lower my well-being, the more stressed and depressed and anxious and under pressure I am, the worse my lifestyle is, the more porn I use. This correlation seems really reliable. I mean, obviously I don't have all the data on this, but I bet that if I could rewind and get the data from all of my life when I was using porn and graph out when was I using how much porn, that would be an almost perfect inverse graph of my general well-being. So why am I talking about this? What does this tell us? Well, if we look at this, clearly porn has got to be about something other than sexual pleasure and sexual desire. If the story that I was telling myself and the story I'd been told about porn use was true, wouldn't it make sense for this to be the other way around? If the reason I'm using porn is because, hey, I'm just a young guy and, I get horny, and I pleasure myself to some sexy looking ladies, no big deal, wouldn't I be doing that more the happier and healthier I am and the higher my general sex drive is, and not less? This is what made me realize that there's something going on and that porn use is an addiction, a coping mechanism. It's more about numbing myself. It's more about distracting myself from difficult things I don't want to feel than it is about feeling pleasure. I was using porn to escape. I was using porn as a coping mechanism when I was feeling stressed and sad, when I was unhappy with the way my life was going. This is also what led me to create Quit by Healing and the entire Quit by Healing approach. Because I realized, hey, if I make myself feel bad about my porn use, if I make my porn addiction one other problem to feel guilty and ashamed of, that just adds to the stress and negative emotions, which is exactly the kind of thing that makes me want to use more porn. And instead, if I do the work to improve my general well-being, if I change my lifestyle and my mindset, and if I face whatever those fears and negative emotions are that I usually numb myself from, I can create a life where I generally feel good, where I'm generally happy and healthy and in the zone. And even as a side effect of that, I'll be a lot less interested in porn. And since I saw almost nobody else talk about this, that is how Quit by Healing ultimately came about. Now, what does this mean for you? What can you do with this information? A big step to healing is awareness. So one thing you can do is start paying attention to this in your own life. Start bringing awareness to this. First of all, think back over your own life and your own porn use. Do you find a similar correlation? Do you find that you have more of an urge to use porn? You use it more when stuff in your life is generally not going well, when you're maybe neglecting your health, your well-being, your lifestyle. And pay attention to in the moment. What is it that makes you want to use porn? Like, tune in when you feel the urge, tune in what's going on. Is it sexual desire that you're feeling? Is it pleasure that you're seeking? Or is your inner world in that moment when you have the urge actually not a very nice place to be? Are there fears, anxieties, feelings of shame, things like that that are coming up and you want to not feel them? So there's two things you can do with this. If you notice that you have the urge and you tune in and you try to realize what's really going on, you notice, yeah, there's something feels bad. Right? It can be a sense of hopelessness, meaninglessness. It can be depression, fear, anxiety. Something feels bad. There's something I want to escape. Then what you can do is just be there and experience what is happening and allow these negative emotions to come up. Be willing to experience that. So instead of numbing yourself, move through those emotions. And the second thing is that if you feel like, no, what's coming up is sexual desire. I'm feeling a sexual urge. I want to feel sexual pleasure. Well, great. You don't need porn for that. I've talked before about how a great way to quit for most people is to separate fapping from watching porn. And it's a great idea to cut porn from your life because it has all kinds of negative effects that we don't want to deal with. But masturbation by itself is not really a problem. I'll link to the video with my full explanation of this below in case this is new and surprising to you. Go and check that out. But in that moment when you're feeling sexual desire, that's one of the things you can do. Without porn, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to give myself sexual pleasure. I'm going to enjoy that by masturbating without porn. And of course, what you can also do is you can say, well, maybe there's something else I want to do with this. If you have a partner, initiate sex with your partner if they're into it, great. And if you don't have a partner, maybe you want to use that desire as motivation, as a drive to go out, to mingle, to flirt, to do what it takes to go find a partner. In both cases, this is a matter of awareness. You're bringing more awareness to what's actually happening. Usually this happens unconsciously, right? The urge arises, you immediately relapse, and it's this numbing behavior. You're almost like keeping yourself blind. You're keeping yourself unaware of what's really happening. So this is the invitation to do the opposite of that. Like, feel the urge and really tune in. Tune into what is happening in my body and then respond to that in a way that is healthy. Of course, this takes some practice, so don't worry about it if you struggle to do this initially. But this is my invitation for you to start doing this, start bringing more awareness to what is actually happening when you feel the urge. If you find it difficult to tune in and just experience what's happening, one trick for this that has worked incredibly well for me is to write. So in that moment when the urge hits, get out a pen and paper and start writing about what is going on inside your body and inside your mind. What thoughts are going through your mind and what feelings are arising in your body. And often it's much easier to express that in writing than to just sit with it passively. So give that a try and see how it changes your relationship to your own addictive behaviors and to the urges that come with it. If you have any questions about this, go ahead and leave a comment below. Also, would love to hear how this is for you, so go ahead and try it out and then leave a comment letting me know what your experience with this was. And finally, if you want to discover my step-by-step systematic approach for deleting porn addiction out of your life, check out the first link in the description to learn more about the Quit by Healing program.